Welcome back, everybody, to Aquavore Offshore, where we're walking you through the steps we took to restore this beautiful 1985 Boston Whaler 27-foot full cabin sport fishing boat that we bought 7 years ago. If you've been watching our videos, you know that we like the boat a lot, but the seats were one of the things that really had to get worked on. They just weren't comfortable enough for a lot of people when we're making the long rides offshore. What we did do when we built the boat originally years ago is we built these two bait tanks that sit behind the seat. These are 40-gallon tanks each for a total of 80 gallons because in Southern California we need lots and lots of live bait. You can see the way I just made very simple lids, and I figured people could sit on these things, and it worked out pretty good for a lot of years. The problem was not very attractive, and it didn't hold enough people comfortably enough, and we want to modernize the boat to get up more like boats are built today with some of the features and design features that have become popular recently. And because the Boston Whaler is such a great hull, we decided to build these seats. And this video is going to show you how we built them. So here they are in the shop, completed. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. We used all Coosa board with Alexil linear polyurethane paint and a full custom design for a lot of extra storage. And most of all, more tackle access and storage, as you can see here. And the same bait tank we used before, but we lowered it down between the stringers and dropped the weight of it down about a foot down below the deck and built this custom access port for the bait tank that's built into the new seats. So it works out really good, and like 3 or 4 people can now ride comfortably. We also needed a lot more storage, so you can see we did all acrylic panels and Gemlux hardware. Tried to make it as yacht quality as we could, and that's the idea here. We're not trying to just make function, we're trying to make it elegant and clean, almost to a yacht quality. That was my goal, and here's the result. And we're pretty darn happy with them, so we're going to show you how we built these in this video. This is the helm seat with the rear-facing backrest. Person will sit on the Yeti cooler looking back while the captain drives from the swivel bucket seat. And that is a removable backrest, so you can make more room if you want. Below it is more storage that all lights up, and it's going to be a really great improvement to the boat to have more places to sit and more places to store stuff. Again, you can see how that access panel's holding itself open. Those are 28-pound friction hinges from Gemlux. They're great because we don't need the cables to hold those platforms over. So when we're rigging baits and tying hooks on, it'll stay like that. And it's a very strong, sturdy platform without all those ugly cables. Same with the bait tank lid. It'll stay up on its own. Those are the friction hinges right there from Gemlux. They're really awesome. They come in multiple friction pound weights. The other hinges are just free floating hinges that shut nicely with the Gemlux 2-inch stainless steel latches. So we're going to show you how we went from this not very attractive seating arrangement, but functional, but we really like the bait tanks, and so we're going to design them into the new seats here. And you remember in episode 3 where we showed you how we did the cardboard design and just kept changing it until we got it to where we liked it, which we did. And then when we did that, we cut those cardboard panels out and laid them down on our 3/4-inch Coosa board, which is a composite board that's infused with fiberglass, and it's super strong, and it takes the place of the old-fashioned plywood that would rot and delaminate. So the Coosa board's great, but we recommend that you cut the stuff outside because the dust is really nasty. It's full of glass fibers, and this stuff will give you splinters. It cuts real easy, but you got to be careful with it, and you got to wear a respirator. You can see all the fiberglass infused into this panel. I think it's a polyurethane panel. It's pretty lightweight. It cuts real easy with a circular saw or a table saw or a jigsaw. So once we started cutting out our panels, we wanted to test fit them together before we glue. So I just used screws at first, but Coosa board doesn't hold a screw real great. It'll allow you to pin them together lightly, but you can't really manipulate them much. I eventually learned to use an air nailer with finish nails, and you can just leave those in place after we glass up, which is what we finally did. So we got it built on the bench. to the specs that we created in cardboard, and then we put it back in the boat to make sure we liked the reality of the thing, because reality is king. And that's a phrase we've learned to use, because what that means is get everything fitted in place and make sure you like it, and make any changes before you start glassing and committing to your final build. We were very happy with the way this went together. You can see the top on it there. That'll be the seat top. You can see the internal structure of it. And back on the bench it went when we were satisfied with the general shape, and we started to do the detail work, like the footrests and the back leg panels. And we went kind of fancy on the seat shape, and that allows your legs to hang nice and straight down. Everybody likes to have a place to put their feet when they ride on a boat, so we put those in. Here you can see the inside structure, and the ultimate design is to cut a hole in the floor of the boat and lower those things down to that stringer right there. That 40 gallons of water is going to drop about a foot. See the way we cut that out to accommodate the tank? That's where the seat's going to go over the tank. And so we get the same great 40-gallon tank, but it's a much lower profile, and the boat will ride better because the weight is lower in the boat. Again, there's the finished product with the acrylic lid and the friction hinge that holds it up. And so back to the bench we go. This was tricky. There was a lot of intimate little cutting, lots of sanding and shaving and final fitting, and it took a lot of time, but it was worth it. You can see that little ledge there where we're going to have down lighting. Here we test fitting the top. Again, we put it back in the boat to make sure we like the top. We probably took it in and out of the boat 3 or 4 times by the time we were happy with it. Inside we reinforced the structure, and here's the ledges that are going to hold the platforms for the storage containers. And again, I just use strips of Coosa board for that. The whole entire thing is built of Coosa. It'll never rot or delaminate. Once we got it together, we started to decide how big the access panels should be and where they should go. And then we got ready to do the helm seat. Same procedure here. Cut out the Coosa board from the cardboard templates. Pin them together with nails or screws until it all gets glued together. So now we started to put together the port seat first, because it was the bigger of the 2 projects. And here's, you're looking down inside the seat from where the top is going to be. So what you're looking at here is the inside of all our storage compartments. And you can see how after we pin nailed it together, I went along with epoxy and a tongue depressor and fused all those corners together. And that holds these panels really strong. Not strong enough to finish it, but strong enough to be able to manipulate the part while we rolled it around on the bench and put our fiberglass pieces in. Obviously we couldn't do this in one piece, so each of these inside pieces had 2 or 3 layers of 1708 fiberglass cut custom for them, and that's where we start the actual wet glassing. Here we are with the 1708 fiberglass. The seat is upside down on the bench. That's actually above the bay tank. That's where the light's going to go. And you can see the way I just kind of rough that glass sheeting in place, make any relief cuts that we have to. And once you like the way that lays down, you're going to go ahead and mix up the West System epoxy and start wetting out the Coosa board with epoxy. Get it nice and greasy, and then lay that first piece of 1708 and stick it down good. Wet down the top, and you can go ahead and do 2 or 3 coats of this at the same time. You know, obviously we pre-cut these pieces out, and so it's ready to go, you know, one piece after another. By the way, you see the way I'm holding the Pyrex dish. One thing I learned is that the Pyrex pie dish is a fantastic epoxy mixing basin. And the reason is, you can just rinse it out with acetone and use it again and again and again instead of constantly throwing away those plastic receptacles. So that's a little tip for you. Use the Pyrex pie plate and you can epoxy over and over again, and it's better for the environment because you're not making so much trash. Back to the project at hand here, we're really laying that epoxy in thick. And obviously once it gets in there thick, you want to get in there with a pin roller. Got that enough material on there. Here I'm putting on, I think, the 3rd coat of fiberglass, 3rd and final coat. Got that laid down. Relieve those corners real quick with scissors. Wet that out one more time. And you got to take your time, you got to be patient. It takes a while for that 1708 to suck up all that resin. But we want these to be really strong and really durable, because these are going to take a beating in the middle of the ocean. So once you got everything wetted out, take your pin roller. We zoomed in here, excuse the quality, but I wanted to show you the way that pin roller gets the air bubbles out. And that's exactly what we're doing. So I've got this plenty wet. Spent some time. Any little dry spots, you got to keep wetting them out until you're happy that the whole thing is saturated and that you like the result. So we showed you that pretty good, and now you're going to see we followed that same process throughout the inside of the seat structure. So what I've done here obviously is we pre-cut the 1708 glass to each panel. It's been a lot of work and a lot of cutting. Sometimes I made paper templates, other times I just cut them. I'm using these electric scissors that we learned from Boatworks today. They're available at Jamestown Distributor. They're those little electric scissors, and they're fantastic because you can get in there and cut final shapes without laying things down again. I'll show you those on another video when we go over all the tools that we used. Here we are laying the glass on the seat top, and you can see the little relief cuts we had to make for that fancy little shape we did, and on we go with more wetting out of 1708 fiberglass. You can see the way we've got these pieces pre-cut and rolled up in the sequence we're going to lay them down. I started at the higher part of the project, wetting things out and laying down glass. Wet it out and lay down glass. And you can see the intricate nature of these seats, and all these are all the storage compartments that are going to be in there when they're finished. And so after, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours of laying glass in there, here's what we got. All the corners are reinforced. All the inside compartments are laid up nicely with the 1708 glass, and now it's ridiculously strong. The Coosa board is ridiculously strong on its own. In some applications you don't even need the fiberglass. You can just wet it out with resin and it's ridiculously strong. Again, it takes the place of plywood. Rest in peace, plywood. We'll never use it again for things like this. At least I won't. So we went on to the helm seat. Same procedure. We gusseted up everything with the fiberglass thickened epoxy and did all the corners to get it strong. We had some other parts to do. It's not just seats we're doing here. We're also working on the head, new head door, some light panels for the head. Some of these parts are not related to the seat, but I want to show you what the Coosa board is like. This is 1/4" material with just an epoxy resin coating, no glass on there. So once we got the inside done, we took it outside to our pondside workshop, where we are now preparing to do the outside glass. The application of which is going to be just like we did on the inside. I think we used 2 layers on the outer skin of the seat, 3 layers on the seat top. Probably went through about 1.5 gallons of West System epoxy doing both these seats. And I'm not going to lie to you, this took more time than this video probably lets on. But you can see I'm really happy. I've done the routing on the corners. I'm really happy with the structure itself. It's been pre-tested into the boat. And we are really happy to move forward with our custom seats on our 1985 Boston Whaler project. We hope you're enjoying and learning some stuff on this. It's a fun thing to do. These old boats are well worth the work it takes to go fishing offshore. And you can turn from an ordinary, simple design like this with a little sweat and love into a really custom project. And we're hoping that this is yacht quality when it's done. So thanks for joining us on Aquavore Offshore, and we'll see you next time.